right in the heart of a silver bullet.
Yeah. I think they plotting on man. Don't wipe their feet when they enter the lab. I feel a cold stare.
So you were trying to get your shit together around 2025?
Yeah, it was just like, if I don't get my shit together, like I'm gonna be dependent on people. I won't be able to really create, but I was still also leaning on being young. You kind of have this period of time where at a certain age, you're kind of allowed to be young and stupid, but then it's like, kind of like with money. I mean, it starts to have compound interest. And so your stupidity starts to compound, and then you may not be able to deliver on that. And just decided my career was over professionally, and I wanted to, be a coach, and I wanted to have a family. I also wanted to be able to have financial means to be able to help others. And, turning 50 a couple days ago and looking back over my life, I was just like, man, I'm just so glad that I was able to make it and just get out of being stuck on stupid.
Right,
Yeah.
stuck on stupid.
Gratitude
A lot of
moment for
people
sure.
are still living on stupid, and they passed 50.
Grief and survival, some became.
What's happening? Shout out to We Have Range for uploading this. Grow up before life does it for you. So a friend of mine passed away at funerals today, and he lived a dope, great life, and nobody ever has a bad word to say about him. But I'm gonna say that to say this: when he talked about growing up in the sense of, hey man, I got time, I could be young, I could make dumb decisions. And the woman said, people are doing that in a, 50 plus. That's why I'm saying grow up. It seems there's a balance of people who go, I want to live my life and I want to live my life to the fullest. And kudos to if you could, we all are living our lives. And if you can live it to the fullest, fine. But you have to be able to afford to do that, right? So you have that balance between some people want to just enjoy their lives, and other people are grinding. And you like these people aren't enjoying their lives because they're grinding too much. But as he said about the compound interest, like when you make good decisions, it compounds. When you make bad decisions, it compounds. And what happens is for the people who don't grow up, it's fun in the beginning. But life happens and life starts happening, and life is not going to stop happening. And what winds up happening is it was fun when you was 20. It was fun when you was 25. When you're 30, it ain't fun no more. When you're 35, 20 and 25 is catching up with you. When you're 40, you start like, wow. Because some people get it together later than others, right? And you wind up in situations where you see people who are like, they were having their fun and they didn't make the decision to grow up. There's going to come a point where life makes you. And this is what I would say. If you are an adult and a clear-cut sign that you haven't grown up is if you're expecting or believing or you feel more entitled that another adult is going to do the things for you that you're not doing for yourself. And then what winds up happening is you become dependent on not just on them, but the concept that they'll do it. And there comes a point where you go, what are you doing for you? And it's like, well, let's just say you're doing 50% of what you could do for yourself. And another person is doing the other 50%. So, which means they're doing 100% for them and 50% for you. You see what I'm saying? And at some point, life cuts that off. And I've seen plenty of situations where people depended on people and those people died. And now these people are 30, 40, 50, years old, and they're like, oh, I got to grow up. I actually got to do the grown stuff. And it's like, yeah, yeah. And by the way, some of those people have kids, and the kids were basically groomed to do the grown stuff for the grown parent. And people think, it can't be them, but usually that's how that winds up happening. I'm not talking about a situation where somebody has something happens in life, and whether it be illness, injury, stuff like that. But there are people who they'll show up for the party, but won't show up to do the job. You get what I'm saying? And you wind up losing. How can I say this? Losing. In some cases, people lose their inheritance because the family is like, look, leave it to them because they ain't done nothing with their life and they've been having so much fun that they don't know how to they don't pay bills properly. They don't pay taxes, which winds up being the mistake that because since this person doesn't do anything, the parents die, then they think the siblings are going to take over and take care of them, or the kids are going to take over and take care of them. And it's like, you're going to have to grow up. Then, I've seen the people who just they feel like they're having a good time by not being an adult, and they become a burden on other adults. You get what I'm saying? Like, you'll do it, you'll do it, you'll do it. I'm just gonna be free. And it's like, wait. You get to so you are dependent on these people to give you the support system so you can be free and just run around and then one day, I'll make it big. And if you don't grow up, life will grow up for you. And this is where this gets interesting. Because normally people who are carefree and I got time and I'll make mistakes, they don't have good health. See, that carefree life goes with something. You don't eat like you should. You don't. A lot of times you don't exercise because you're lazy like that. You in for a good time, so you might partake in alcohol or drugs. You don't do the little things, so you're not organized. So if something actually happens, you don't know how to handle it because you're unorganized. Because hey, I'm just doing my thing. I'm just living. I'm having fun. Blah 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 blah. And then when you actually need answers or results, you don't know how to produce that because that's not in your wheelhouse, because that's not your thing. Which is the reason why I brought up the kids, because it's a weird thing for a child to look at a parent and go, yeah, I'm on my own. And the parent look at the child and go, you can do it. It's like, all right, because I'm too busy. I need to live. And it's crazy to say this, but a lot of time people who want to live don't really live, because the older you get, how can I say this properly? You might have burned out all your living on the front end. So 20 to 25, 20 to 30, you was living. But see, at some point, adult life happens, and now you can't live because you didn't sabotage yourself. And even when I talk about like some people ruin their inheritance and family and friends take care of people because, they're not equipped to take care of themselves, even when that goes to a higher level, they're just pacifying you to get out of the way. Because if you are around if you are around the things that actually matter for your own survival in the future and everybody else is around it, you'll ruin it. You know, y'all don't understand how many people have blown through five, six, seven figures because they wanted to live the fantasy in their head to be seen and be a celebrity and do the most. And it's like, and then when it's all said and done, I need help with the real stuff. And it's like, no, 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 no. Now it's time for you to grow up because you not only you didn't you might have blown some time and some money on yourself, but now, ironically, you might have blown somebody else's time and money because now they gotta actually pick up a shovel and do the heavy lifting because you cut them off at the knees. And I'll say this, and it might sound crazy, but I think it's better to be a responsible adult who people don't think they're living enough life than to be an irresponsible adult who had a bunch of fun. Because I've seen more responsible adults win in the end. But that's just me. Catch y'all on the next one. Tell me what you think. Peace.